Hi, this is Ed, CEO of Wright Mowers. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about our mission, and I don't mean like our mission statement necessarily. I'm talking in a broader and general sense of how we look at our business, how we look at your business, how all that comes together, and that our focus really is on your success. And the nuances of some of that means that there's some things that we do that are very contrarian compared to what a typical manufacturer would do. So it's be a little bit of a longer video, so stick with us if you're interested in this, and let's dive into it. So I think first off, the overall context for this is that where's the value being generated in our business and your business? The value is generated when the mower is moving across the ground, cutting grass. That is the activity that your customers pay you to do, and it's what you charge them to do. And so our goal is that you're able to cut the most amount of grass and you're able to do it as constantly as possible through your schedule. And so anytime the blade of the mower is not making contact with a blade of grass is non-value added time, right? So non-value added time could be things like when the mower is on your trailer moving between jobs. It could be the time that the mower spends making a turnaround at the end of the row, which is affected by how maneuverable the machine is. Could be the mower is in the shop, it needs maintenance or it's broken down, right? Then value is not being generated. So our whole world and your whole world is around steadily cutting grass and doing it as effectively and affordably as possible. A similar way to put this is in the drilling industry. There's a saying. It's something like if the drill's not going clockwise, you're not making money, or something like this. But if you've ever seen a video of how these well drillers work, the drill goes clockwise and down, and then when they go to add a pipe, they disconnect. It goes up, and they bring another pipe in. Well, there's very, very little action while the driller's drilling. But as soon as it stops, it's all hands on deck to put another pipe in and get drilling again, because they're only getting paid when that drill is turning and the hole's getting deeper. And it's the same thing for mowing, right? We want to be all entirely focused on your uptime of mowing and going after and chasing with intensity everything else that is not value added and improve those situations. So some of the things that this means makes us a different type of company. Well, one is that we invented the Standon concept, and part of it was because it made a significant improvement in production and productivity. We started as a landscape company running walk-behind machines, and when the hydros came out, we added the Velke, the little wheel you could ride behind and walk behind, so that you could get higher production. We were doing that within our business, and then as the hydro walk-behind evolved, we came out with the first stand-on mower, which was really like a hydro walk-behind size machine, and you stood on it instead of behind it. And that concept has evolved now, where our stand-ons are most of them are in their second, third generation level, and much more refined and tuned in. And we'll talk a little bit about mower design here in a minute. But the stand-on piece is part of what makes us different. For the first decade and a half, we were swimming upstream. It was a concept that was very backwards to a lot of people, but it's become mainstream today, and because it's been proven that it's in most cases the better way to get the job done. Most of our mowers have more power than what you typically see on a mower, because that increase in production means that you'll make more money compared to the cost of the mower. And we'll talk about mower value here in a second. Reliability and durability, they're two sides of the same coin. Reliability, the machine is consistently running. Durability, that the machine lasts a long time. And we tend to make our machines far on the end of the spectrum for durability. Maneuverability, we have a huge amount of focus on where the center of gravity is of the machine, and that the machine, whether it's damp out or if you've got a little bit of a slope or whatever, the machine is very maneuverable, very versatile. The way we approach maintenance, I think we're probably pioneers of low maintenance more so than any other manufacturer in the business. The majority of our machines don't have any grease fittings because we've moved to ball bearing pivots, or we've moved to synthetic bushings with stainless steel shafts and these types of things that we found last a very, very long time, but you don't have to pull the machine out of commission or open up the trailer specifically to do a grease type maintenance. Things like our electrical systems are very, very simple. Most of our electrical systems, in basic terms, it's as simple as the key powers up the mower, the blade switch sends power to the clutch, and the platform activates a relay which will either kill the engine because the operator's not on the machine, or give it ground to the clutch, allowing the clutch to come on. So there's really one relay in the system. It's as basic and simple as you can get with a commercial mower. The other thing that is unique to us is we have a very, very technical focus. You'll see that we don't do a ton of really glossy advertising. We don't believe that the glossy advertising is what sells more mowers. It's that we make machines that are mechanically good and high performing, and that our machine's performance and durability really is our best marketing. And so those are some of the things that make us, I think, different than a lot of other companies. Okay, so back to this concept of profit and where the value is happening, right? So our business and your business is monetized by the act of cutting grass. And you have that, and then you have your costs. So the spread between your cost and your price is where your success and your profit happens, right? And so everything we can do to maximize the spread between those is what we're after. It's what you're after. It's what we all should be after. And I use the word success is a broader concept than just profit, because you might be growing the business but taking less profit, or success also includes concepts like safe operation of the machine. But success also does mean that there's a monetary benefit that you're having. So your success is the gap between cost and the price, and what we're trying to do is maximize your success that happens in that spread. And if you have your company that's running really, really efficiently, it's a well-oiled machine, it's not that difficult to double that spread if you're paying attention to all the things that can maximize your production and minimize your costs. So as we look at that spread and we look at the costs and that kind of thing, let's now talk about a financial concept. When you buy a machine, you have an upfront price, and then you're going to have maintenance expenses over time, and you might run the machine in the ground, or you might sell it and have a residual at some point. So you have these costs, and also through time you have this value that you're generating. You're invoicing so many jobs, you're cutting so many acres, you've got labor going into the equation, fuel going into the equation. But if you take all those cash flows over time and you take all of them back to present value, and you look at the total value of buying this mower versus the total value of buying this mower, it allows you and us to bring emotion and bias out of the picture for the best decision on buying a mower. It also lets us take biases out of our decisions we make when we design a mower. If we use this part or that part, or we make it a stand-on mower or a rider or whatever it is, we can look at all those factors and use math and finance thinking, come down to what's producing the very best machine possible. But it's important that we bring the value you're getting from the machine into the equation, right? Because if we just said, oh, well, how do we make the cheapest mower possible? Well, that's probably not going to be a very reliable machine, a very good machine, a very high-performing machine. We have to bring into the equation your maintenance costs, the life of the machine, your labor cost, your fuel costs. All those things come into that equation. It's in a very simple way. You can do some simple math to bring everything to net present value. Over longer periods of time, you might look at the cost of money through time, and so what's your cost of capital, and bringing that into the equation. For sure you can do that. Another a parallel concept that you might be more familiar with, you can relate to, is if you buy a house and you get a mortgage for the house, you can decide, hey, am I going to go with a 30-year term, a 15-year term? Do I make a bigger down payment? Do I make a lower down payment? Do I buy down my interest rate and then finance the cost of buying that interest rate down, put it back into the loan? You can work the numbers a lot of different ways, and it's very difficult to figure out, hey, what's my best value decision here, unless you take all those cash flows through time and discount them to today's net present value. So we look at the entire mower at net present value, and it's important to say that this is broader than the machine's life cycle cost, because the machine's life cycle cost is really just like the purchase price, maintenance, and the residual. So we're looking really at the business, the model around the act of mowing. And that's very, very important. And I would say it's not that you personally need to do a net present value calculation for every piece of machinery you purchase. In some cases you might, and you might be surprised at some of what you would find if you do. But my point here is that you can be confident that when you buy a Wright mower, that we're looking at the business this way. We're building mowers to produce the max amount of profit for you, and that the machines are dialed in for that. Now, we do make a variety of mowers, right? And so one mower, if your properties are all larger acreage, it doesn't mean that you want to buy a 32-inch machine and that's the best value to do it. Now, every one of our machines does have some flavors and nuances of what types of jobs they're really dialed in for, or what type of utilization they're dialed in for. So a very specific example of this might be that we make a standard intensity 36-inch machine, heavy-duty engine, heavy-duty drivetrain. Machine will last an extremely long amount of time. We also make a standard B, which is a commercial mower, and it's a lower cost commercial mower. It's not a prosumer mower. I mean, we still put a lot of components into that machine that make it very reliable. Like for example, the 32 and 36 have flat free front tires. And you're not going to find something like that in a piece of consumer equipment. But the machine is not going to last 4,000 or 5,000 hours with all the overhauls involved. It's just not going to last that long. But the standard B, what it is, it's for commercial use, where you might have a primary mower, you might have 1 or 2 ZKs on your trailer, and you have a trim mower that you put 5 hours on a week on that machine. And so you're going to get a much better net present value by buying a standard B than you would an intensity for an application like that. Now, if the meat and potatoes of your business is doing a lot of properties where you're pulling out a trim mower on every property and it's running for about half the time, you want to be in a standard intensity because you're going to have higher production there, and you're going to have the machine spread the cost of the machine over more years and that type of thing. So we do have machines that are dialed into specific types of situations. Another example around some of our equipment decisions is we've discontinued our gear drive walk-behinds a few years ago. And the reason we did that was if you took the net present value of operating a walk-behind, it was a much cheaper mower, in some cases half the cost of a hydro machine. But the thing is that through the life of that machine, you're going to have much, much higher labor costs because you can't do a zero turn with it. You can't go backwards very easily with a gear drive walk-behind. So your production costs are way higher, although your equipment cost and your equipment depreciation is lower. And it was the difference between a hydro and a gear drive is so broad that I really came to the point where I said, I don't, if I have the best wishes of our customers in mind, we don't want to sell them a gear drive walk-behind because you'll be so much more successful by running a hydro machine. And so in a world where it's seen as important to have a product for every slot in the market, that's the slot we walked away from because the value is just not there when you look at running a revenue generating business. And so we're looking at your business model more than we are looking at having a mower in every slot. Okay, so now let's take kind of the inverse of, so we look at net present value, we do these different activities as a business. If we look at the inverse of it and say, okay, these are some of the things that we typically, a company in our position would do, but we don't do. So first off, one of those would be that we don't look at price points a whole lot, right? So in the world of mowers, you could kind of put them into a grid, and you could say, okay, these are the price points for different class mowers, and and that type of thing, we don't really put a lot of stock in that because one of those artificial increments or artificial price increases don't necessarily align what's going to make you the most profit. So we're going to make a mower that makes you the most profit, and it's not going to fall exactly in one of those slots and those comps that are in the market. An example of that is that if you do take one of our machines and line it up in the market where other mowers are priced, you'll find that typically we have a bigger engine on that mower because we believe and we know, and our customers have given us the feedback, that you're going to make a lot more money with that bigger engine compared to the cost of that bigger engine. So we're not trying to fall into price points necessarily. We know that we make mowers that are not the cheapest. If you compare our mowers to some similar ones, you might find if you finance the machine that our mower might cost you somewhere between $5 to $15 more per month if it's financed over 48 months. But you'll find that you could make a multiple of that on the amount of extra business that you can do and how profitable you are through the month compared to that incremental cost difference. And that's what it is all about for us. It's about that when you spend $1 with us, you multiply that dollar more times. And so we're looking at that. We're not looking at the price points. So one of my sayings is, our mowers are not cheap, but they save you money. Up front, they're a little bit more because of some of these things that we do. But over time, you're going to make more money. I guess this is somewhat of a similar nuance, but we don't really spend a lot of time copying other mowers in the market or focusing on filling a slot in our range. We talked about the walk-behinds. Again, that's not important. You don't want to go into your truck dealer and they have a truck there and you say, okay, why? This truck is too small, this one's maybe a little too big, and I need a truck like this. And it's like, oh, well, they don't make a truck like that because that was a price point and that was a price point. That's not a valuable thing to you. That doesn't create you value. What you needed was this size truck. And so that's how we do our business. We're not trying to make a mower that's the same as somebody else's or match up to somebody else's mower. What we're trying to do is make you the best mower for the different use cases that we're targeting with these machines. The other thing is our mowers are not filled with consumer features. Consumer features are known to break down easily or slow you down or get in the way. It's many of our customers special order their trucks with rubber floor mats and crank windows and pull the fuse out of the air conditioner. Because what you don't want is anything to break down. You want steady as you go. You don't want things depreciating. You don't want your windows getting stuck open. And so that's the type of world that we live in, is maximum production, rock solid equipment. Whereas the prosumer business, it's about having as many features for the lowest price. And that's just not what we do. Now we do add features and these types of things if 95% of our commercial customers are saying this would be really valuable to us and this would help us make more money. Certainly we add those features. But an example here is you might see some prosumer mowers with an electric deck lift, which is a nice convenience, but it's also something that is expensive and it's going to give you downtime when it breaks or it has to be maintained, whereas a simple lever and a spring to help it, that's something that is much more difficult to break. And so our mowers are purposefully low in the features and high on the productivity, and that's by design for sure. The other thing is that we don't try to sell extra parts. In fact, we make it our practice to try to minimize the amount of parts that we sell, which is very, very contrarian. The typical approach is, hey, you want parts revenue is a good supplementary income to the business, all these things, right? But to take the golden goose concept here, we don't want to sell the golden goose and lose the eggs. What's really important to you is that many of our customers work with us 10, 20 years, and in order to maintain that, we have to keep selling you mowers that create the maximum amount of success for what you're doing in your business. And so that means mowers that don't need a ton of parts continuing to flow into them. And so We look at parts rate of change. If we're selling more of a certain part at a certain point in time, we're saying, okay, what's going on there? How do we make our machines more reliable and fix that issue so we sell less parts? Every part that we sell is a bit of a sad event, because when we sell a part, we know that it's associated with some amount of downtime that you've had and some amount of expense that you've had that has hurt the spread between your cost and your price, and what we're trying to do is maximize your cost and your price. So parts are an important part of the business to keep equipment running. We could make mowers so expensive and so reliable and they would cost $1 million and never need a part. So there's an optimization that happens in there, right? And so we're trying to optimize. And part of that optimization, let me just give you an example here. So a lot of manufacturers, they're going to design a mower for X amount of hours. And when they spec a clutch in it, does it pass that standard? Yes. Okay, what's the cheapest clutch we can put in that machine to get over that threshold? That's not how we look at it. What we do is we take clutches and we burn them through thousands and thousands and thousands of cycles to figure out at what point does the clutch fail. And then we take the replacement cost, the cost of a new clutch and the labor to install it. We take that and we divide it by the number of cycles that we got to say, okay, this clutch is the best value for you, or this, so we're speccing the clutch that gives you the best value. Typically means that we have a stronger clutch in the machine, not just to hit some threshold. And so those types of practices mean that the machine's more reliable for you, and ultimately you need to buy fewer parts in order to be more successful. The other thing we do, and this is a little bit of a similar concept, we make our mowers last as long as we can. So typically in the world of engineering, you have your design criteria, and it's say, okay, the design life for this thing might be 1,000 hours or 2,000 hours, or whatever number, right? And so the idea is you want all your components to last that long, and then when it reaches that point, every part, fails. Anything extra is not important. We don't see it, as a switch that happens at that point. What we see is we want the greatest value we can through the maximum amount of time. And so we're always going to make something better as we can. We're not going to whittle it down until it's weaker to fail at the design criteria. That means the machines have higher residuals for you. It means you can get more out of them through their life. Now, these next two things I'm going to talk about are a little bit more internal, but I think they characterize some of our perspective here. I've always said that I'm not the one who's signing your paycheck to our employees. The person who's signing our paychecks is you. You're the one who's creating value for us, and we work for you. And that's the way it works. If you're not having a good experience in generating value, then we may as well pick up our ball and just go home, right? The other thing that we don't do is we don't spend a lot of time talking about quarterly earnings and shareholder value or any other corporate speak. Not to say that it's not important that we run a profitable and viable business, but it's that really our strategies and our activity and our focus is on your success, and that everything flows from it. Sometimes I've said that our business, if we think about it as a co-op, like a farmer's co-op, it's owned by the farmers and it's there to serve farmers in that area. Our business is similar to that. We exist to create your maximum value. There's no alternative agenda to that. That's as simple as that. And so if we see a collective movement of our customers wanting something particular, a particular feature or whatever it is, then we're going to do that. And that, it takes a certain amount of humility to say, okay, we're wrong on this and our customers are right. But we have to always be focused, all of us in our company, in parallel towards you. And it means that it's not a bottom-up focus. It's not a hierarchical organization. Everybody in our organization is pointed towards our customer success, and that's always the criteria we use when we set strategies, we make decisions, and those types of things. It's also the criteria that we use when we decide to spend $1. We have to ask ourselves, if we spend $1 on this, how does it help our customers make a better spread between the cost and the price? How does it help you be more successful? And so we've got a very practical approach where we don't do things in a particularly glamorous way. It's about everything we can do to support you in your success. And again, back to the point of advertising, it's one of the reasons why you won't see super glossy advertising from us. We believe that some of the best value we can bring you is by doing the R&D, so the next mower you buy has the continuous improvements built into it. It's about giving you the best prices possible. So many of our customers have been buying mowers. Some of you have been buying mowers from us for 10, 20 years. And the best thing we can do is continue to serve you. And frankly, you don't need another advertisement. What you need is to know that you're continuing to get the best equipment possible. So to sum it up, what it really is, it's as simple as this: your success is our success. There's no hidden agenda. Our goal is certainly not to make the cheapest mower. It's to make the mowers that will bring you the most amount of profit as possible. And that business is distinctly different than the prosumer and consumer business. Although the mowers have the same shape, everything that surrounds it, the whole business model around it, and the type of dealers that we work with and that kind of thing, it's really all about your success and driving towards that. So I hope you find this helpful, and that's all I have to say about that.